What time is it, my creatives? That's right, it's photo hacking time. And today we're going to be talking about why I don't recommend the iPad Pro for graphic designers. Let's get into it. Number one, lack of compatibility for fonts. Now, in the iPad Pro, you can't install fonts. And people are like, oh, wait, I've installed fonts before. In the sense that you have using a third-party app, but you can't install fonts. There's no way to install fonts on the iPad Pro. If you go to general and you go to fonts, it will tell you specifically that you need an app in the App Store to download and view fonts. Now, in some cases like Procreate, there is compatibility for it, but in Photoshop there isn't. Now, I have the newest iPad, the 2021 with the second generation pencil, and I'm going to show you Adobe Fonts only works in importing fonts on a laptop or a desktop. It does not on the iPad Pro OS. Now, on your desktop and your laptop, you have a font manager that you can use, and you can store and organize fonts, and you can do a lot with your fonts, but you cannot store fonts on the iPad Pro. Okay, so you can't import fonts into the iPad Pro in Photoshop. Now, originally I thought, well, maybe I could do it on Creative Cloud. And I tried to do it on Creative Cloud. It does not work on iPad Pro. It does work. You can import fonts. You can upload your own fonts into the font manager in Creative Cloud on your laptop or your desktop, but you cannot do it on the iPad Pro. And if you upload those fonts on your, like, say for instance your iPad on your laptop or your desktop, those fonts that you uploaded through the Creative Cloud will not work in the iPad Pro still, even though you're using the same Creative Cloud. I know that's crazy, okay? So you can import fonts into iPad Pro, especially in Photoshop. And I show you in the video here that you just can't do it. It's just not possible. We also tried using a third-party software called iFont, and you still can't import fonts to Photoshop, but you can preview the fonts and use them in other programs that support third-party fonts. Now, the only way to really use fonts, like your own fonts, is if you purchased the enterprise version of Canva, which is $29.99 a month. And then you can upload all the graphics and fonts you want. But at this point, you're paying $60 for Creative Cloud, and then you're paying $30 for Canva. And that's almost $100 for a clanky shit version of Creative Cloud that has Photoshop, and then also a cookie cutter version of Canva whose servers are very slow and rely on the internet. You need a connection. And usually when people are working remotely, they don't have a good internet connection, which is the whole point of working remotely, is that you can use whatever's on your iPad without connecting to the internet, say like in a car. So I just find it very debilitating. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to download some fonts off of the Creative Cloud. Creative Market, I'm sorry. And then we're going to import these into the Creative Cloud here. Okay. Okay, guys. So now that we have our Creative Cloud up, we downloaded some fonts off of Creative Market. And we'll go into our downloads, and let's just say indigo blue. We can go in here and see the fonts that we have. Okay, so if we go to manage fonts here, all right, we're going to select add fonts to Creative Cloud, and then we're going to select add more, and then we're going to select those files that we just had in our downloads. So we can go in here to, what was the file of that name? I have such a bad memory. Oh yeah, indigo blue. So we're going to go in here and we're just going to take all of those, drag them, and open. And you have to check this box saying that, yeah, you paid for it, you have the rights to it, so that way that they're not specifically responsible. Now I'm doing this on my laptop, okay? So this is my MacBook Pro, my new M1 MacBook Pro. You can do this on Creative Cloud, but if you try to do this very same thing on the iPad Pro, it won't work. Also, these fonts that I'm importing right now, even though that this is the same Creative Cloud as your, I know it's crazy to understand mentally, these fonts won't work on your Creative Cloud, the font manager on your iPad. They will not work. And I'm going to show it to you. So when this gets done processing, okay, and then it uploads, I'm going to go back in and show you as an overlay with the iPad Pro that it does not work.
3 hours later.
Okay, so as you can see, these are the fonts that are installed on the this is the M1 MacBook Pro, and they are installed on my Creative Cloud. Now, look at the names here. Let's just look for Atlantis and Lagrange, Atlantis regular, Atlantis. So this is my iPad Pro. And as you can see here, we are in the A's. It is not on here. You will not find it on here. Look, you will only be able to install Adobe fonts that are actually in their little font store. You can't bring over your custom fonts to your iPad Pro. That is a deal breaker for me. Number 2, lack of storage and lack of ports. What I mean by lack of ports, you see that little USB-C hub? That is the only port that you get, making it seemingly impossible to use, say, like an external hub that will house an SDHC card. Now, many photographers and designers, we need to put stuff like this in there. We have cameras where we need to transfer files. And we most definitely carry around these things. This is an external USB drive. Now, you can't even use these on the iPad Pro because you need to format this USB external drive. This is a 4 terabyte drive that I got off of Amazon. You need to format it first on a Mac, an actual Mac. You can't do it on an iPad. So you would need to purchase a MacBook Pro or other, because you cannot format this on the PC. You have to format it on a Mac product in order for it to work back and forth from your desktop to your iPad Pro. Otherwise, if you plug this in, it won't work. No matter how many dongles or external devices that you buy. I tried to buy a USB-C to USB cable and it didn't work. So if you don't have your files like on your hard drive, if you don't have these converted to exFAT, it won't work. And you have to convert these to exFAT to work. Transferring files through the cloud takes forever. So it's really, I mean, why? I just don't even know why. The struggle is real, having to, with the lack of ports, and God forbid the internet's not working, and then you won't be able to design at all. So, I mean, the whole point of it being portable is you can't even use it, and it's portable function. You can't attach anything to it. So for me, that's a deal breaker. Lack of storage. And what I mean by that is that the graphics that you're downloading off of Creative Market, the stuff that you need, is not going to fit in your iPad Pro. And especially this, okay, this iPlanner, or I'm just going to view the products here. Planner Edition Custom Scene. This has tons of graphics in it. And I'm going to click on here and show you how much stuff is in here. Okay, There's no way that you're going to be able to fit this. This is like over 6 terabytes of content, will not fit on your iPad, and because it lacks the storage space. Most of the people, they buy the cheaper 64 gigabyte storage, not understanding that that is not enough storage space for design, and they want to go ahead and design anyways. I actually had a very disgruntled customer upset with me because she had a 64 gig iPad Pro and she was trying to download a package of mine that was over 2 terabytes, and she just didn't have sufficient storage space. Now, I don't normally give people refunds, but she seemed pretty nice about it, and but still, I am a little frustrated because this is the lack of knowledge from people understanding the limitations of the program. So even if you had the 2021 version like I do, which has a terabyte, you still only get an additional terabyte of cloud storage. So that's only 2 terabytes. So there's no way that you would be able to take something like this, or say like graphics from another package. Let's say if we had another mock-up package. Let's go to mock-ups here on Creative Market. Let me go back to... Let's go to purchases, my purchases. All right. So let's say, for instance, let's go filter purchases and go to templates and go to mockups. All right. So all the mockups that I purchased, I wouldn't be able to install this or this because it's too large. So imagine if you had, for example, some graphics, like say for instance you had graphics from like 8 different packages that you wanted to utilize. Well, you really couldn't do that because of the lack of storage. You can't even plug in a USB. So say for instance if you only bought the iPad Pro, you didn't have a MacBook Pro, or you didn't have a desktop, okay? You would need to format that hard drive that you're buying, that USB external hard drive. You would have to format that in exFAT, and you can't do it. You can't do it at all because you can't plug it into the iPad Pro. So how exactly are you supposed to transfer files? Like, what are you supposed to do? And you could store them in the cloud, but that would mean that you would need a connection to the internet. And I can't stress enough how slow the Creative Cloud is from transferring files, and so is iCloud. And sometimes it doesn't work at all. And if you have an iPad Pro, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The issues where sometimes it transfers and sometimes it doesn't. And so because of all that crap, the lack of storage, the lack of ports, it's a no, N-O, it's a hell no to the no for me. And that's just real. Functionality and compatibility issues. Yes, it's the layer limits for me. You will find that more and more as, iOS updates or things change, that you will be able to use your iPad Pro less and less, which is a problem. So not only does iPad Pro limit the layers, but importing files and pictures can often be a chore, constant crashes. And it would be extremely difficult to edit, say, a group of few items needed for a single project. And it seems to have quite difficulty importing RAW files. And it also downgrades JPEG images to 72 dpi, which if you're trying to create products for print, that is a problem. So the functionality and compatibility issues are just horrible. Now, I know at one point for my PC, in the beginning, I was able to transfer files from my iPad to my desktop and my desktop to my iPad. But lo and behold, once the new iOS update was here, I wasn't able to transfer files anymore, leading me to have to purchase an actual M1 MacBook Pro, in which I also hate and which also has the same problems. So why did I make this video? I made this video because I hate my iPad and I am sick of people who download my digital items coming to me thinking that it's my fault that the iPad sucks. No, the iPad Pro sucks all in itself, and these are the issues at hand. And until Mac fixes them, they are the limitations of the program, not my products, because my products work absolutely fine on a desktop PC that has sufficient storage and memory. So this video is basically a rant to how much this little computer sucks, and why, if you're trying to be a professional designer, this is not what you should be using. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. And if you like this video, hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, keep on creating.